Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's February the 1st. I guess that means tomorrow's Groundhog Day. Sure hope winter gets over soon this year. But welcome to Marshfield Old School Times. I'm Lyndall, and got a very special guest today, Tom Farr. Tom, say hi.
Hi.
Welcome. And Logan Frakers, our producer. We're going to do something a little different and really excited about today because we're going to be doing a road trip here around Marshfield. And we're going to talk about kind of the old days and various locations of businesses and what was there and what was here. And I know you're going to hear some stories that you've never heard before because I have already, just sitting here talking, plus the time I've spent with Tom in the past. So I think everybody will find this really interesting. So what we're going to do is begin the recording, and then we'll be getting back to the school, and we'll be playing the recording a little bit later today. So by the time everybody sees this, though, you'll be watching it almost as if it was live. So we're going to start out right here by the school. This is Chestnut Street, and we're just going to head out here and kind of pause and stop along the way and talk about some things. Tom, go ahead.
Tom Wells right where that parking lot was a house there. Tom Wells lived in.
Right here at the social services parking lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Squirrel Evans is back here. He had several children. Tommy and Joanne was in my class, twins.
Tom Wells was he was an elected official, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was head of the draft board all through.
Okay.
Yeah, he was not well liked during
I
World War
remember my
II.
dad had to go before him once for something on the draft.
And
all right, so right here is a great spot. We're just going to kind of pull over here because we got several things to talk about right here at Commercial and Crittenden, basically.
there were just residents on this block here. And where the lumberyard is, that was for the Show Me Power.
Show Me.
And it was in there.
Was it already there back in when you was a young man?
It was there when I started carrying mail in 1949.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the was Foster's Mill and Leonard Smith, Birchfield's was down on the corner there.
Where the MFA building is, or the other side? This side. Okay.
And Sugar Creek Creamery is right in that section right there.
Right where the scales kind of are. Yeah.
Yeah. And right in here, Lou Stutzman had a blacksmith shop.
Okay.
And right here on this corner, I can't think of the man's name, but he used to come every fall and set up, and he would buy rabbits.
Okay.
They brought from 25 to 50 cents a piece, and depending on, they started out 25 and later, and schoolboys that lived on the farm, they would trap, and they in cleaning the rabbit, all they had to do was gut them.
Yeah, the skin and meat and everything was left on.
Yes, and I think that man's name was Boland. But anyway,
yeah,
he would cut the feet off. I guess you buy a lucky rabbit's foot.
Yeah.
and then he put everything in barrels and he shipped them to St. Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah.
And the schoolboys would bring their sacks full of rabbits over that they'd trapped or caught, and then they would sell them to him. And like I said, I know one Sunday afternoon, my two uncles and I went. We killed 34 rabbits.
Really?
One afternoon, and we came here, got 50 cents a piece for them.
50 cents a piece.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that'd been the 30s or
no
40s.
40s.
Yeah.
40s.
Okay.
And
so there was
before this building was here, and that was John and Bess Hosmer's home place. Had a nice rock fence all around it. Their driveway, the garage came in the backside and had the front. It was kind of a modernistic place, really sharp.
Yeah.
And
the house was still there when I was a boy.
Yeah. And then young John moved it to Ball Hill. And it's still used today.
And of course, that would have been the grandparents of all the Hosmer kids that we all went to school with.
Yes.
All our friends and everything. So yeah. Now there was a service station here many years. You know, the MFA Oil and Irvin Good had his wrecker service out of there, and then the MFA Hall Some of you may remember the MFA Hall in the 60s when they had music shows every Saturday night.
We've had family reunions in
that building, yeah.
Yeah, far reunions.
And that was the concrete pad there where that yellow tank is.
Yeah.
But MFA, back in your day, wasn't really over here. They were over there where Hartwell's was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll, I think we probably, well, there is, I'm going to go down here and we'll go ahead and do that Locust Street, the farm thing. So down here, Tom, like where Crawford Tire and those buildings, I know that wasn't there a block, the ice block company, where was it?
Yeah, it was there, and they also had a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And Frank Julian had these two buildings,
right
and
here.
They were his warehouses where he had a commission company that he sold people's. He would sell cans to the local canners. There's where the locker plant was.
Right there.
Yes.
But that, like back when my grandparents and great-grandparents even raised tomatoes, they got their supplies from, was it Marshfield Supply Company or something like that?
Yeah.
And that was right over here.
Yeah.
And there was what was over here?
Yeah. And then he would sell you the cans, and then you would can your stuff in the brag bag, and he would sell them for you. And
we got a train coming. Looky here. We'll have to wait on the train.
And he would then he would sell them for you, and he'd had to take his commission and the price of the cans, and he would pay you what was left.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was all the little canning factories around Webster County.
Yeah.
They got a lot of their supplies from him, and then he bought their wares. Yeah. Now this crossing wasn't here until probably the 70s. This is Pine Street, and the crossing used to be there by Jim and Wayne's on Pitt Street, and they closed it up when they put this one in for Pine, because I was told that then they wanted Pine Street. It went all the way across town. It went all the way to Hubble Drive, and it went all the way south to McVeigh, where Pitt Street was just a short, you had to make a jog, you know. So they put this one in the 70s. You also remember, Tom, as a boy, the lumber yard used to sell sand, and they would catch their lumber off the trains here.
Yeah.
And
right over there. No, it was up a ways, which would be right behind the street crossing there at
Pot Pits.
We need to go up.
Yeah, we'll go over that way.
We need to go up that way.
You remember any train stories? I guess you rode the train past if you went anywhere, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got on the train here and rode to Evansville, Indiana, and pick up New Plymouth.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
And then all of our mail came in and out on trains before they had any trucks.
You just go to the depot every morning and pick it up or something? No, the depot was right.
Herman Tate had a contract to come to meet all of the trains that had mail on them.
I see.
He would bring them to the post office.
I see.
And there's a rumor, well, it wasn't a rumor, but there's several different tales about it. When we got our mail, they didn't stop. They just threw the mail off.
Is that right?
Yeah. Huh. In the mornings, and kind of scattered it up through there.
Were they leather bags or something?
Oh no, cloth bags.
Canvas.
And during the war, they say there was one bag that went off and bounced in under the wheels, and it had several $1,000s worth of cash in it.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a troop train, and they stopped the train, and all those GIs jumped out and started gathering up the cash.
Yeah.
And they said very little money was lost.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. All right, so the depot would have been about where that red truck, well, just where that semi is sitting there, right? Sort of.
Well, it was past Jim and Wayne's.
Yeah, that's Jim and Wayne's right down there. Over here, the steel plant was, what was there before the steel plant? Just a bunch of old houses? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember much of anything.
Yeah, just being open. We're going to go this way, and then we'll come back this way, because I want you to talk about this this part of town. So this is Pine Street, and it wasn't quite the eastern edge of town, but but it was close.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Washington was the old city route.
Basically, Locust was the east edge of town.
Yeah, Locust. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to turn here. This would have been the city route coming in from Old 66 or Route 66. You'd come down Pine and then turn and then went west to the square. That would have been the city route.
I used to walk over in Jefferson. I'd hit Jefferson and come down and carry mail.
Yeah.
Through
right
that
there.
house, come here. And then I'd go down this street to Locust. And then I'd go to the end of Locust and I'd come back here and then I'd serve these houses.
I see.
This side.
And that was all there was. None of the rest of this was out down there.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you can see
nobody used addresses. And I had to memorize who lived in every house.
they didn't use addresses.
No.
Really?
And stores would send out their bills, just Tom
Right.
Farm, Marshfield, or City. They didn't even write Marshfield.
Yeah, put city.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because you can see there's some old houses right in here. Those houses they're 100 years old. But then when
Archie.
that was the Bertaldi boys' house when we were raised.
There was an Archie something there, and Claude Evans lived there.
Well, I was going to say these old houses, and then
Rashy Manning lived there. He worked for Tyndall Grocery Store.
Okay.
And of course, the priest lived over here.
Now, was there an old Catholic church here first?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is this is Olive, and that's Locust.
Right.
And Locust was the eastern edge of town.
Yeah.
And then tell us about this whole tract of land here, because I think it's really interesting.
Olive to Burford, back to Locust and back out was the circle drive for the Whiteside farm.
That was a farm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Vernon Singer's grandma lived here. And Ed Brooks lived there.
My great grandmother lived right
She
here on
lived
this
right
lot.
here. Yeah, I carried her mail.
50s and 60s and 70s.
And Ephraim Rader lived here.
Yeah.
And we came to here, and then we turned and went down the street, and that was a service station and a little convenience store.
I owned that in the 70s or late early 80s.
Yeah.
Do you know that, Logan?
No.
That was the second house I bought.
Yeah.
It was a single.
Huh.
So that was all a farm over
Yeah,
there.
right.
And there was nothing basically down through here.
Well,
really.
these houses were in here by the time in 1949 when I started carrying the mail.
I see.
Of course, that's a new house. It wasn't here.
No.
Frank Francis built this new house.
Yeah.
Norman Lunn lived there. Lee Cass, the banker, lived there. Wiley Alexander was a depot agent. He lived there.
But you can tell there's no old houses
Mary
here.
Spriggs, that's the Spriggs and the insurance. There's his grandma's.
Grandma.
And Everett Cardwell lived there. Jim
Amazing.
Strauss lived there, and he had the meanest dog in the world. When we came to here, served this house, and we went back because there was nothing.
Nothing about that.
When I carried up to here one day, they were digging this street out with a blader
to take it down to Cowhump Road.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the circle of the farm.
You're right.
And the old farmhouse was right
Here.
where that yellow house is, right? They tore it down.
No, it was set back farther than that.
But it was, I think it was that lot.
This was the front. This was all the front yard. Front yard. Wallace McFadden lived there. Bob Latimer come built this house. Well, but we added this on later. This section.
And all of that was just a farm back in there. No houses.
Now there was a lot of these houses in here when I started in 1949. We're talking back the 20s and the 30s.
Right.
Yeah.
But this was all the Whiteside farm. And then the farm went on behind the house way that direction, right?
Yeah. And it just gradually got
sold off.
Divided up.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, my house is right up there, and we built that house in 1953.
Logan showed the gray house there. That's Tom's home.
And there was there was 3 homes set right here in this, where this building is. 3 homes. Kippy Halbert lived in one of them, and he worked for the city. And the in-house was Billy Buxton. He was a crippled, but he was a shoe man.
I see.
Shoe.
So this was right here at Pine and Washington was the corner
right
of the
here
city route.
There's a big old house here, and that was Dr. Blenn's office.
Right.
Then later on, he built that over there. And this church here, back in the 20s, their church was out there where the Plank Cemetery is now, got tore out by a tornado. They came and bought this lot.
Is that the Lutheran cemetery down by the Niagara River?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah.
And they bought this lot and built just a basement church.
Okay.
It was just the basement, and they put a roof on it, and they was using it. And then the Depression hit, and they lost it.
Oh wow.
And they was getting ready to lose it, and the Diggins Lutheran Church come over and paid off the mortgage.
Really?
Yeah.
Glen Hospital was right here, right?
Yeah.
On this corner.
Yeah.
So Masonic Lodge was built way back there, and originally that was a rock structure. Remember, it was that stone similar to the funeral home. And then in the 60s, they had a fire and they tore that top out and bricked it. And then here in the last 90 days, they've just put that new metal roof on top of it.
Yeah.
Because they needed a roof, so they just framed it and metaled it instead of messing with the.
Ray Eddy put this in as his welding shop.
He lived here, right?
Yeah, he lived here. Later on, Oral Edwards
Yes.
lived there. And there used to be a great big old house over there. Ira Morton lived there, and he had 2 old maid daughters.
I've heard about the Morton girls.
Yeah, Aline and I don't remember.
But then in the early 60s, Frank Davis built the service station and
Right.
car wash.
Yeah,
And it was here for 30 years or so, and then tore down for this. Okay, let's talk about the funeral home. So Rex Rainey.
Rex Rainey built it new.
Yeah, and my grandpa, Fred Fraker, and his partner, Lawrence Price, Fraker Price Construction in the 30s, Rex hired them to frame that building. Now, they didn't lay the rock, but they framed it out of oak lumber. Framed the walls, framed the roof, and then, of course, there was a rock mason that they call that giraffe style.
Yes.
And there was a lot of that done in those days. But that was a state-of-the-art facility in the 30s. It was brand new.
Absolutely, yes.
And Rex Rainey, which would be Dean Rainey's grandpa, is the one that had that done.
The rumor has it, and that Jack, the boy, heard that there was a Burchett that was a janitor.
Yeah.
Was going to go up and dust out the room where the caskets were.
Yeah.
Story.
Which was upstairs.
Upstairs. And Jack went up there and crawled in the casket and just laid down there. Told the Burchett guy, come up there, and Jack raised up.
Oh my gosh.
And they had to mail Burchett his check.
Oh, I wonder if that was Jim Burchett's, because there was old Jack.
No, it was
Different Burchett.
It was his brother.
Jim's brother?
Jim's the one who told me about it.
Oh, Jim's brother?
Yeah.
Was it Jack, the one that used to hang around the square all the time?
No,
Jack Burchett?
No, it was an older
Another
brother.
one? I see.
I think it might have been Clarence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Now, right here, there was a big house that was kind of a rooming house. Right here by a Lee. I remember a Lee, and that little building over there was their tavern.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
And see, my dad had his first garage was right there where the out tractor was.
On this end?
Yeah, on this end of it. And you need to go through there.
Yeah.
Of course, this was all Berger Bowman Lumber Company.
Yeah, I remember that.
Whole block.
Otasco was here in the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of
history there in there.
Yeah. what Dad started out with in 1935 was just a little building about where that door is, like just about
Right
that
there.
wide, and the old city hotel set right back in there. And
Not the Webster County Hotel?
no,
A different one. Okay.
It run by Corbett's.
Okay. I didn't know about that.
That was Marion Corbett's.
Yes.
Some family, but it wasn't her folks.
Okay. All right.
And they had rooming up there, and they kept. I know Harold Colby, who was the janitor to the post office. He stayed there.
I see.
And then there's a possibility that there used to be a big livery stable right here.
Yeah, my great grandfather was involved in that at the turn of the century.
And,
Will Fraker and Will Young.
Yeah, and later on, there was a house when Howard and Lucille Miner lived there,
Okay.
and Lucille Miner was mother's younger sister.
Right.
But then there was a big house down there that what was their last name?
Now where the Rapid Roberts was the old funeral home that Rainey's had before they built the new one over.
Right. Yes. And then Sox George and his wife bought that, and they put a rooming house.
Yeah,
for senior citizens.
That's kind of what it was when I was a boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Marshfield Machinery, when they started up, would have been after your dad had left the garage.
Dad bought the other place in 1939, then they started up.
They started here.
Yeah.
And then they tore down and built the
Of course, Bill Hart had his liquor store right over there.
Yeah, which became Herb Kuhlman's.
Yeah. And
Now you got to tell the story about the side door though at Kuhlman's at the liquor store. You put a side door on the side and with that blinder so all the Baptists could go in and out on the side and not be caught in the front door, you know.
Anyway, of course that little eave that was the back of the post office.
Yeah, that's my building. We own that.
And
Yeah.
The mail truck would come in here and back right in there and unload.
I see.
And of course, the other stores on down the road.
Marshfield Mail was in one.
And
Jarrett's down there.
That's where Jarrett's building is. Until after the war, that was park.
That was a park, yeah. I've seen the picture.
And
hardware store was in there still too, right?
Yeah. This last door here, Blackie Dugan's wife had a beauty shop there.
Okay.
George Melton's and his dad had their dental up there, and then the front was Dr. C.R. McDonald.
Okay.
And across over there was Doc had the front of it too.
Yeah.
But on the side of it was Dr. Bruce.
Okay.
Don Bruce's dad.
Yeah.
And he retired, and there was a Dr. Levitan.
Yeah.
Came in and then he left. He was the only Jewish person in Marshfield, and he didn't last long.
Didn't last long. Was there a stairway out here to go up from the outside, or did you have to go inside to go up?
You had to go inside.
I
to
see.
Go up.
Now,
Yeah.
barbershop underneath.
Yeah, that Beetle Barnes barbershop.
You went down the stairs
Yeah.
there where that cover is.
Yeah, that's where the spitting whittlers always sat on the railing.
Yeah. We called them the drunks, but they probably weren't all drunk. But
And when I was in the first or second grade, I walking from school, going down to Dad's, and Goody Goodall was a black man that was the shoe shine boy, and down in Beetle's barbershop. Now Beetle had showers and stuff. The guys could come in. Like all the Birchfield guys, boys, when they'd come in, they'd go there, get a shave and haircut, take a shower, and get everything.
yeah.
And old Goody sitting right there on the step, and I came up and he stopped me and was talking, and he said, "Would you like an ice cream cone?" Well, who 6, 7-year-old kid ever said no?
Right.
So he took me inside, and he bought me a nickel ice cream.
He did.
Yeah.
With Rathman's.
Yeah.
Was Rathman's a pretty nice store back in those days?
Yeah.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
There's some ornate trim and furniture in there, I think.
Yeah.
So
And a big safe. Of course, originally it was a bank.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now. I've heard that. I'm gonna. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull in here, but I'm gonna
Okay.
and then we're going to talk for a minute.
That little store right there was originally was Sim Rice's barbershop.
Yeah. Okay.
And this was the sweet shop. And that was Skeeter Hargis's. Well, it started out with Kip Winslow.
Uh-huh.
And then George and Gene Barnes bought it. And then...
What was the name of it? You remember?
Just,
it was a cafe, but yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
Marshfield Cafe.
And then
Feelings.
Oh, who's the last guy in there? Skeeter Hargis.
Skeeter Hargis. Okay.
He was also fire chief for a little while.
Okay.
And then Feelings was in there.
Yeah.
And the next store was Beggar Dutch Variety Store, and then Shields.
Yeah.
And up overhead, there was offices up there. Louis Childress, who was a lawyer, had an office up there, and he served 2 years in the House of Representatives from Webster County. And my wife, Ivina, was his secretary at that
I didn't
time.
realize Lewis served.
Yeah, and
House.
Ivina went to Jeff Sid with him the 2 terms.
Was she already your wife then?
No.
Okay, that's
No.
She was.
And then when he went out, Isa May Polk won.
Yeah, I remember that.
And she went back with Isa May. So
She did.
my Ivina worked 3 terms in the House of Representatives.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. When the House, the Republicans were in the minority,
Mm-hmm.
when Lewis was there,
Yeah.
the 2 terms,
Right.
and so she served in a secretarial pool, and she had about 6 representatives.
I see.
Her and 1 or 2 other gals served.
Yeah.
And she said most of the time she spent her time playing pinochle with those old.
I imagine.
timers.
I bet she could tell some stories
And
because I can tell a few from the 2000s. You know.
And then when Isa May went in, the Republicans were in a majority, and so she only served Isa May and a Mrs. The lady from Kansas City.
Huh. Wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Mrs. Rimby.
And then
I don't know.
now, was there anybody between Icy May and Don Davis? You know, he served in the
and see, I don't
60s. He was in the early 60s.
Because Ivina never went back after Isa May.
I see.
Yeah, by that time we were married.
Yeah,
As
I
a matter
got
of
you.
fact, we got married in September of 1953, and we had 3 representatives and a senator come down to our wedding.
Did you? Well, that's cool. I didn't know that, Tom.
Yeah, Ivina's folks and my folks thought we had a mixed marriage.
Mixed marriage. Well,
Because I got a Democrat job at the post office.
Yeah.
She was working in the house. Of course, Shields
wasn't as much difference in them back then.
Yeah. Shields was here, and Calvin Birchfield was in here.
No,
But
not
now-
Shields. Shields.
Oh, not Shields, Tyndall's.
Tyndall's. Yeah,
Yeah.
grocery store.
Okay. Then this building was built, and there was a lady that had a store over next door to Roper's.
Yeah.
Nell Terry was her
Okay.
name. She lived in the big house where the Marshfield mail office is now,
Okay.
and she sold that out to
We call that the lodge building, right? They didn't have the lodge upstairs.
Yeah.
IOOF
Yeah,
lodge.
right.
Yeah.
but anyway, Mrs. Terry lived over there,
Yeah.
and Earl Shields' mother-in-law were sisters, and they
Okay.
lived with her. And I mowed that yard over there for 20 cents an hour with a push reel.
Yeah.
But anyway, then she came over here and put in and she had a lady store, patterns,
Yeah.
some materials and stuff. And then she went out, and Calvin Birchfield kind of put the first
Electric appliance.
Yeah.
For
And
motors and stuff.
the first TV in Marshfield set right there now.
Right there.
Yeah. And
Emil Holmes ended up have his shop there
Yeah.
later.
but then the Ford garage was there,
Yeah.
and the little house the little building on the end was a bakery.
Oh, it was. It wasn't part of the garage.
No.
What about this building here?
Well, it was 2 or 3 different things.
Yeah.
It was a bowling alley,
Okay.
and you know what slot cars are?
Yeah.
Well, Junior Dawson put in a slot car racing thing.
Yeah.
You know, that might have been in here.
You talked about that after last time we were on.
Yeah.
But you can see the three. That's where the Ford, because those three buildings there, because
Yeah.
you can see the signs.
Yeah.
Still see the word motor there.
Okay, then they built the new place out there.
Yeah.
And when my dad's garage burnt in '68,
Yeah.
Dad was in here for a while.
He used it for a while.
Yeah.
Let's just make a turn here, because he had the shop was around behind, which was still used for a shop
Yeah.
up until a few years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. We got in here.
Right there, that shop, that old wooden garage door.
Yeah. And then of course, Tyndall Hardware grocery
Yeah.
lumber hardware store.
Hardware.
And then there was a
See-
Farmall tractor.
Yeah, International. My dad worked for them.
All of
Uh-huh.
Orville Birchfield had it.
Uh-huh.
And on the house here there was I can't think of her name. But anyway, later on, Alexander's lived in there, and it was the bus depot.
Bus station on the corner.
Yeah.
But then there was also the building that Brooks has owned that
Yeah, it was.
he called it the Howerton building or something, or
That's it.
yeah,
Mrs. Howard.
Howard building.
She also owned the corner place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Cecil's, that was the lumberyard, right, where Cecil's engine was
Yeah.
before they moved it over there, or I don't know. No, there's another lumberyard. Wasn't?
It was the tractor agency.
Oh, it was part of International.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Ernie Vestal ended up buying that from Orville, I think.
Yeah.
My dad worked
Right.
for Ernie.
Yeah.
Now, before we hit the rest of this square, let's go down here. Tell me about the. This was kind of down here, what they called, wasn't it, the kind of the black part of town? I mean, there was blacks
Well, I
that lived
don't
down
know.
here, like their church and school were down here.
Well, it was over there on that street.
Okay.
On that street. And
Stockyards was here, right?
Yeah. And then Bear Burford lived right in here.
Yeah.
Here. And
I know
and
they
there was
they had.
I forget the name of the people who lived here, and he had a photography shop in his house
Okay.
right here. I wonder why I forget these names after all these years.
Well, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And then I want you to tell me, do you remember there was a quarry down here? Do you remember the quarry
Kinda. Not really, but I've been told about it.
where these apartments are?
Yeah.
Supposedly
No, that was Robertson Park when I was a kid.
Robertson Park. Okay.
The Chick Robinson.
Yeah.
Now there's two Chick Robinsons.
Didn't know that.
Betty Winslow's dad,
Yeah.
she was raised in that house straight on,
I see.
and he was Chick Robinson.
Yeah.
But his nephew also was a Chick.
Glenn, which
Glenn,
is
yeah.
But I'd always been told they quarried right
Well,
in here
there had been stuff in.
back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. But Robinsons put a swing and a slide board right down in here.
I
and I
see.
think there was a hand pump. And we've had school picnics right there.
Right there.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. Did you ever remember Clarence Ryan?
No.
Well, Dub, Tyndall, after Roy Tyndall sold his grocery store, he went in with his dad over at the hardware store.
Uh-huh.
Dub Ryan, he was something else. But anyway, he went in. Oh, if you go up that way, they're cleaning that up.
Yeah, they've cleaned it all up.
Yeah.
Deb Ryan, what'd he do?
Well, he rode a bicycle around town,
I
picked
see.
up cans and
I
sold
see.
them and
I
stuff.
see.
And but he went into Tyndall's and bought a brand new bicycle. And he got on it and he started down that street. Well, he'd never been on a bicycle with hand brakes,
Oh no.
and he didn't make that corner down. Stop.
Flipped.
Stop here.
Yeah.
And he didn't make that corner and went off down in there, just demolished the bicycle. He just picked it up. He was skinned all over. He just picked it up and went back up to Tyndall's and laid it down in there and said, "Mr. Tyndall, I don't think I can make payments on a bike like that." And he just walked off.
No. Oh no.
This was the Black Church.
That was it. Okay.
Yes. And And
that was Ellis Jackson's workshop
yes,
when I was a boy.
Right. Yes. And Brandon Burford was the minister here.
I'll be.
And,
I didn't know that. I knew it was somewhere over in here.
And back then you had the Masseys and his mother, Mrs. Roseby, the Daltons, Hayes Dalton and his daughter Gladys, Moss Seeley, the Campbells, the Goodalls, and there was some more that I don't remember.
Yeah.
But everybody couldn't get jobs. World War II started, and there was jobs available in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And they all moved to Kansas City and never came back.
All but Dell and his mama.
Yeah. There is a tale about that, but I
tell it later.
Yeah.
So
these old houses, none of these
were here. These were back. This is just the backyards of them.
Right. Yeah. And
was that pretty much park all down through there on this side?
Yeah. There was a few little houses scattered down through there. I don't remember. Marion Corbett's mother lived right up there, and Marion did.
Yeah, we owned. My dad and I owned that.
I was raised right here.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Yeah, our house sat right there, and your dad's garage was right there. We moved. He bought that garage from McVeigh in 1939. And Mrs. Wallace had a house here, and Dad bought it and tore it down and built our house.
Built your house.
And then we moved in there in some said the spring of 1940 and some 1949. And I'm looking at 40 or 41.
Yeah.
And
but the garage building was already there when your dad bought it?
Yeah. But then he added on.
Yeah.
It was a long skinny building, and he added, in 4 phases, he added half of it here, 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 and here. And so, till he finally got it all complete.
Pretty good sized building, what I remember.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't there no big house where the mail office is over there?
Yeah, that was Mr. Terry's.
That's the one you was talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What was over here? Anything?
City lot.
Yeah, they had the one well in town was there, I know, for a long time.
Yeah,
the city
over there.
well.
Yes. And on Saturdays, there would be 15, 20 horses and wagons parked
in there.
Yeah, people come in. Yeah, it was when the Smith stockyard was across over there.
Yeah.
Sometimes they bring in a whole bunch of calves, and boy, they bawled all night long.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
And this was just billboards and no buildings, except an old building here for a while.
The rest of it all billboards.
Yeah. And was that all grown up with trees and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the drunks would go back in there. And there was 3 buildings that burned, and they just left them.
Just left them. Huh.
And you need to stop here for just a minute.
Okay. Let me pull in here. Tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just pull in here like this. Nobody here anyway.
Where the Life Bureau is now.
Yeah.
During the war, that was an empty building.
Yeah.
And they started
you actually told us about that in our last time you was on.
Oh, did I?
About the
Army
soldiers coming in.
Yeah.
Your paper collections and stuff.
Yeah, we started out where the bakery was for a paper collection. Then we moved to the old jail.
Where was the bakery?
Well, that.
Oh yeah, that corner building.
Yeah.
Where householder law. Okay.
But they started at the sidewalk going out east of this square, and they filled that half of that street over and down around here with scrap iron. And then the Army moved in and set up a barracks in there. Yeah.
Can you remember when the square wasn't paved?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because it was the first road in Webster County to be paved. What'd they call that? Macadamizing or something? Back then?
Now, years ago, it was 2 ways. It wasn't just one-way street when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it was a mess, that corner over there.
Yeah, that was City Route 66 coming in right there.
And but the idea is, if you had traffic going both ways on Crittenden Street and both ways on Madison Street,
right.
and them trying to all turn, it was a mess. And they started, the city then, of course, the city owns from that center line out. The center line in is county property.
I know that from being commissioner. Yes, that's right.
And to get it, the city and the county to agree on anything sometimes is not that
back
easy.
then especially,
But the finally they agreed to make it a one-way. And of all the squabbling, why didn't the city had too much power, and it's always been this way, why do we want to do that? But these people came in here at 45. Those people went in at 45 over there. And once in a while, two of them would back up together.
No, it's absolutely the right thing to do.
Oh, absolutely.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that.
I remember, and one night we lived down here, Mom and Wayne and I, and Mom was Carrie Ann Larmay. She was that little. She was born in 1939.
Wow.
And we got right here and right out here, right in the middle of this street, there was a man laying flat out, totally out.
Wow.
And we was walking by, there's a car pulled up, and there's a guy just standing beside him, just like this. And the car pulled up and asked him, "You need some help?" He said, No. Said, "Old Virgil's been drinking again." He said he didn't want to go to jail, so I had to tap him a little bit. and said he will when
tap him.
He said when he comes to, he can walk to jail because he's too big to carry now. And he just stood there till he come to.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. Do you remember in the 40s or 30s? Do you remember there being a lot of bars around Marshfield?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Wendy, go ahead.
You come out of the Ritz Theater and walk over. Sweet Shop wasn't there then. Come to the soda fountain was in Shields drugstore. And there'd be 3 or 4 guys passed out drunk on the streets. And we had the sheriff. They say, "Where's Johnny?" And they say, "Well, he's probably hid under the bed upstairs in the jail."
And you even told me that before, when Isom got elected in the late 40s, that before that the town was kind of unruly.
Oh, it was. But we didn't have any law. And this is also in the book about Isom. But so some of the Price boys was kind of rough at that time. They come in from High Prairie, and somebody told Isom that they'll eat you alive, and he said no. And he went out there and got their dad and got the boys in, and he deputized all of them and told the boys, "I need you to help me. Just keep everything quiet."
Got them on his side.
We had them. They walked around with the badge on, and there was no fights.
No trouble.
That's
great. That's fun. That's a great story.
Of
course, if you go back even further, even before probably you were born, I've seen the pictures. They had a stockade. They had fencing around the courthouse yard. Have you seen those pictures?
No.
And there's even pictures where they had cattle in the yard, and I don't know if it was people came in to pay their taxes and they'd bring a calf, or I'm not sure.
Very well,
but there was a fence. Of course, that was before the road was paved, and the old courthouse, which, of course, this courthouse was built in 41. But
I was standing right over there at the end of that sidewalk and down just a little ways, and old Kip Halbert had the city road grader with a chain on it to the tower on the old courthouse. And I saw him jerk that top off there.
Pull it off.
Yeah. Me and I think Ralphie Bridwell. Ralphie Bridwell was.
Yeah. Well, they started that building. The WPA projects were still going on because the Depression was still going on, and they were able to pay guys, money. They got money from the feds for that, and a lot of local guys that were out of work, put them to work, and it was a great local project.
They dug all that basement with picks and shovels
by
and
hand,
wheelbars.
Yeah, and they used some of the old red brick out of the other courthouse in the basement of this courthouse, like building support walls and stuff. And of course, what you see on the outside is the Carthage stone, but there's a lot of brick in interior on that building.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great story. Now go ahead and let's talk about. We'll go over this direction and talk about the old jail, and of course the place that you worked, what, 40 years at?
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah. Of course, see, we lived right down there.
Yeah.
Well, one night, Mom and I was sitting on the front porch, and she said, "Look up there." And somebody was parked here, and they run over to the jail, and the jailers threw down a string. They tied a fifth of whiskey on it and whacked up into the jail. But this all in here was Miss Terry's lawn that I mowed for 20 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now Bob Fiennes, folks live there in that house.
The Fian place, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Marshfield Mail Building wasn't here. It was over there, like we said. They were over there by the old post office. Yeah. And I remember when that building was built. I was a boy. Yeah. What was this building here behind all that?
It's been a multitude of things.
Yeah.
And in the front up there, Frank Day had one of the first things I remember was a butcher shop in there.
Okay.
And then later on, it became a gun shop. And I had 2 old guns, and that gun shop closed at night one time, and they all left, and so did my guns.
Oh.
But then back here in the back, Frank and Loyal Davis had a cabinet shop in there.
Cabinet shop, okay.
And then T-Boo George had a feed store in there before that.
Okay.
And then before that, a Clarence Statler had a plumbing shop.
Okay.
And he's the one that plumbed my house.
I see.
Yeah.
So, I've been told that even in the Centennial pictures, when the jail was still here, there was a big field here behind it, open, and that's where they would set up the carnival. Would they do that? Do you ever, like Ferris wheel and stuff?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
But when they tore the jail out, before they moved in, there would be revivals and stuff.
Tent revivals, yes.
Yeah, right where after they tore the jail out, before they moved over.
Gotcha.
Before they built the post office.
And I've got pictures of those in my office up there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this was the Smith, the nice big Smith home right here.
Yeah.
I remember they tore that down when they built D.D. Hamilton.
Yeah.
And Paul Beckerdyte's mom and dad lived in this house.
Yeah.
There was a Quonset hut that.
Yeah, there was a laundry,
and then Jim Carter started J&I Automotive in that Quonset hut right between this house and that corner. Yeah. Of course, that was
the old Foster house.
Foster house. John Thompson's grandparents, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the Quonset hut set right
here.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go up here, and then you can talk a little bit about this side of the square.
Okay, over there, we didn't talk about that side.
Okay.
Yep. The building on the left is
hardware.
It was Elmer McCowan put a pool hall in there.
The corner, Randy Clare's building there on the left? Okay.
But before that, it was a butcher shop, Frank Day. And Bob Day. My name's wrong. Of course, the blue place, that was Roper's store.
That was Roper's, yeah.
And then
the lodge building was in there.
Yeah. And there was 2 stores in it, and Dave Roper finally made a deal and put a door between them inside.
Okay.
And the women's part and sewing and stuff was on the left, and the men's wear was over on the right side there.
Okay.
And there was another one in there, and then the corner there, that was Jeff B. James Jewelry Store. And it was after he went out of business, Missouri Electric. That's where all of our
Show Me started there.
Yeah.
That's where they started, their office.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that lodge building that we talked about, which would be these left two sections of the bank there now.
Yeah.
That's where Calvin Birchfield sold
moved
his 5J appliance.
Yeah.
And the lodge was above it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Elmer, wasn't very big, and Elmer McGowan put that pool hall down there. And that wasn't the first pool hall in Marshfield, but I wasn't supposed to go in there. One night, Dad said, "I'm going up and watch them play pool. You want to go?" And I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
After a while, the table come empty. Dad said, "You want to try that a little?" And I said, "Yeah." Dumb me, I beat him.
Oh no! Oh no!
The fat hit the fire.
Yeah, I believe I'd have.
Now, right across from us.
Yeah, we'll turn around here.
The first pool hall in Marshfield was right here where
On the corner?
where they tore that.
Yeah.
There was a building in there.
Yes.
They tore it out.
It was an old building, I remember.
Expanded this thing in here.
It kind of reminded you of the building on this end. It kind of looked like
yeah,
that.
That's what it looked like. And that was a Marshfield Sportsman's Club.
Okay.
And you had to join the club and get a card to get in.
Okay.
And the town went wild, the churches and everything, putting in that that
private
den of iniquity.
Yes.
And,
so you could that way they didn't have to get a liquor license. They could just bring their bottle and have it in there.
No, there was nothing. There was no liquor.
Oh, no liquor. I see.
Oh, it was just a pool.
Just a pool hall. I see.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of those supper clubs and stuff where they.
Yeah. Later on,
Yeah.
of course, then the bank and D.D. Hamilton.
Yeah.
And
that was an old building when I was a kid.
okay,
Real old.
the newer building in the middle there.
Yeah, but that was an old wooden looking building when I was a kid. That newer looking building, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Wilson Vanna tore it down and built that one, I think.
And one day, on a hot summer day, and the windows was all open, the doors were open, and there was a preacher here in Marshfield decided they'd have a revival in there.
Oh my.
One of his friends came up with a PA system, one of those old ones, had the big old bells and the big round in the back of it, and they set 2 speakers out there during the day.
Yeah.
And the man says, "Preacher, talk into that blankety blank thing and see if it works." It worked. And I happened to be in Marshall Auto. And we come out, and there was people standing at every door, and
when he said the words blankety blank, but it wasn't blankety blank.
No,
Yeah.
and it worked.
It worked.
It worked.
I'm going to back up. We didn't get this block right behind us on to the right. Oh my goodness. So this quadrant over here to our right, talk a little bit about that, because I know there was a good cafe or two in there at one time.
Well, the inn building was a dry cleaner.
Yes, I remember that one.
And Melvin Davis worked in there, and I forget. And later on,
Jim Strauss owned it late when I was a boy. Jim's Cleaners.
Yeah,
but
there was a.
Did Dan Brooks never was over there, was he? He was over.
Well, he could have been.
He ended up.
Later, yeah. And then right beside it was Miss Muzzy's
That's
cafe.
right. Yeah.
Can you imagine now? We lived the last house on Washington Street.
Yeah.
And I walked to school
Mm-hmm.
and back for lunch, and then back to school and back home.
Mm-hmm.
6 years old.
6 years old. Did you hear that, Logan? 6 years old.
And in 2 or 3 times, it was very rare, but Mother would give me 15 cents.
Uh-huh.
And I'd leave school at noon, and I'd come here, and I could get a hamburger,
Uh-huh.
a big bottle of orange whistle,
Uh-huh.
and an apricot pie for 15
15
cents.
cents. Boy.
Well, I mean, I was living tall cotton.
Yeah. Would they give you an hour to eat, or did you just have 30 minutes?
We got a full hour.
Full hour. So
yeah.
And then
Muzzy's was where Thompson's building.
Right, and it was an old little wooden building. I remember it.
Yeah. And there's a dress shop here, Mrs. Smith.
Yeah.
And in that building, there's been.
That was the Hosmer building, though. That was John Hosmer's dad.
Yeah, he was in there, and the Marshfield Democrat paper was in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. There. And during the war, they rented out the rooms upstairs.
Yeah.
And
my dad said Mr. Hosmer, even though he was a little gruff, he helped a lot of people. He'd loaned farmers money when they couldn't. The banks were all, in trouble during the Depression, and he actually helped a lot of people.
And when I'd walk by, he would tease me, but I thought he was doing it for real.
Yeah.
He'd act like he was going to stick a cigar to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the old man when I.
Well, my dad said the same thing. He was kind of mean to the kids.
Yeah.
But it was kind of his way of kidding.
It was
Yeah. My dad said the same thing.
Yeah.
But he said but parents tolerated him because a lot of them owed him money, Well, but he didn't mean anything by it, really.
Later on, I found out he was just joking.
Yeah, that was just his nature. Yeah, that's what I've heard too. All right, so we're gonna come on around here. We'll stop here and you can talk about Clay Street there on down the way. Well, this was the auto store.
Yeah.
But at one time it was a funeral home, right? Way back.
I think it was.
Yeah, back before Rainey's.
Yeah. And of course that was the Brooks building.
Yeah.
And when Bill and Mary Ruth got married, they had an apartment upstairs.
That's right. And and John William and Vina, Bill's dad and mom, that was kind of where they started. I think they had a grocery store, and she said they pretty much went belly up during the Depression, just like everybody else did.
But that was John Williams' dad.
John Williams' dad. Ed, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they kind of started the gas company and had furniture store first.
Well, yeah, it was, and then they sold that out to Hartley and Digman's.
Yes.
Yeah. And just other things happened down through there. There wasn't that many stores. There wasn't that much stuff going on down in there then. Over here on this corner, there was a Murray Thompson's furniture store.
He was our state representative in the 40s too.
Yeah, and and on this corner there was a beauty shop. Norma Phipps run it.
Okay.
And
is that Johnny's mother?
Yes.
Yeah.
And up where Edwards is, that was a grocery store.
Now, Thompson sold to Smith Pierce, didn't they?
Yeah, Hugh Smith.
Hugh Smith.
And his wife's brother, Pierce. Yeah. Did you know that Hughes couldn't read and write?
I didn't know that. I like that old man. I remember
absolutely.
He was a friendly old boy. He lived.
Yeah,
he lived till the 90s or better.
And he run. We needed to go back around.
Yeah. Wasn't there the furniture store, and then what else was in here?
See,
this was an old hardware store way back there, the Freeman Evans store, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But Herb Ellis, that was Joyce Smith's dad.
Yeah.
Had a bicycle shop right in there.
Okay.
Right in there. Of course, then over on this side, Bob Florence had that station, which he later sold out to Gene and Noel.
Gene and Noel in '53 or something like that.
And that little door right there, Chris Beatty had his office right in there. That's where he started at. And then, of course, the theater.
Yeah.
And then the next one was P.O. Phelan.
Yeah.
And then the next one, half of that other building was, that's where Bill Spriggs started his pool hall.
Oh, in that building, okay. But that was Hobson's Market when I was a boy.
But before Hobson,
Yeah.
it was run by Burley Hudgens.
Okay.
And you go in the front door, you bought groceries. If you come in that little door on the back, it was a liquor store.
That was a liquor store, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think I think maybe Shields and Rathman might have sold some liquor, but I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet on that. But
well, sometimes some of that hard liquor they used it honestly was medicine though. I mean, it really was for cough syrup and stuff.
Yeah, but that little building down on the corner, well, that was a beer joint.
Which one?
Well,
that you said called it a tavern.
Yeah.
For that board. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beer joint, and there's down here. There's a little building past Tyndall's.
Yeah.
And there was a beer joint in
there. Okay.
And then down on Crittenden Street, one of those little stores in there on this side, there was a cafe, and see Johnny Andrews' store, they served beer.
They did
Originally, yeah.
See, did all that change after the war or when?
No, it changed during the war.
During the war? People just, because, you know, I can remember back as far as 1964, and there was none, and I mean no bars.
Marshfield just kind of cleaned things up.
Is that what it was? I got you.
It just got so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to tell something about that.
Yeah, I'll make a loop here, and then we'll go somewhere else.
Down on that end. Where the License Bureau is, that was a two-story building, and it had several different things, hardware stores and different things in it. But see this building here?
Yeah.
See how those buildings go in?
Yes.
They make a bow?
Yes.
Well, see, that was going to be the new
theater. You told me that.
Yeah.
You told me that last time.
Theater.
Yeah.
Then they saw what TV was doing, and they never did. They just converted it.
I thought that was an interesting story when you said that.
Yeah.
When I was a boy, that was like Tots to Teens shop and a ladies' store and you know, stuff like that.
When old Duke Petty finally served his term for robbing a bank, he used to come sit on a park bench right here and look in the bank, and those guys in there just freaked them out.
Just wink at them or something.
And somebody came into the post office.
Yeah. Busted
the back window, got in with a cutting torch, and they cut our door off our safe.
Really?
And old Duke Petty walked in there and looked at it and said, "Why, those naughty, naughty boys."
What did he serve time for?
Robbing a bank.
Was it Marshfield or
Niagara?
Niagara. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, the Christian church, Methodist church, other Methodist church.
Well, this was the north. This was the
north and south, wasn't it? Was this south?
I don't know which one's which, but it still hung over from the Civil War.
That's right.
One was northern, one was south.
But back down that way, talk a little bit about MFA, because everybody knows where MFA is now, but it was all right here on this corner.
Yeah, everything.
And they didn't have a mill, though, did they, back then?
Well, not a big mill, but they did have a little.
Did they have a little one?
They had a grinder in there.
Well, they'd buy people's corn, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Bring them in.
Yeah. Okay, you kind of see where the old building was, and you come in the front door, and there was a little bit of a grocery store right in here, and on the other side was for the mill.
Yeah,
and
feed store.
Mom's two sisters were bookkeepers in there.
Okay.
And when I was in school, in grade school, but anyway, you get your ticket, and you come down here, and you go. There was a drive-through, clear through. And so you'd pull in, and then they'd serve you. And that was back when all the cow feed and stuff came in printed sacks.
Yeah.
And these poor guys, they'd have to get down maybe 300 or 400 or 500 pounds feet to get 2 bags that match, so they'd make a dress.
Oh my goodness!
And you go up on Saturday, you could tell who, if you knew what they were selling.
Yeah.
You could tell who traded at the exchange by the dresses.
By the dresses the ladies wore.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, explain, because Logan's never heard of this. It was called the Producers Exchange,
Yeah.
and it was called that for a reason. Explain that to him.
Well, the MFA, all the farmers organized and started their own business.
Cooperative. Yeah.
It was a cooperative.
Yeah.
And they got shares.
Mm-hmm. But they'd bring their goods in. They could trade, right? When they
Yeah.
bring your corn in, your crop, and you could trade it for.
Yeah. Well, Grandma would bring her eggs,
Yeah.
and then she could get coffee and sugar.
Yeah.
And
Exchange,
Yeah.
trade. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's kind of neat that none of the younger generations probably know anything about.
When I was a kid,
Yep.
there was two big old houses here and over there.
Was one here too?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And-
when was that the Kroger store? Wasn't that the Kroger store?
Yeah, but it was
Later on. Okay.
But over there, that station was that little station there.
Yeah.
But there was a great big old house in there.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember a house being there.
Yeah, and Schaefer's lived there,
Uh-huh.
and Polly and Tate's lived in here.
Was that row of buildings still there, already there?
Yeah, that was okay. That's something we didn't talk about. This corner
Uh-huh.
building, which ended up being Andrew's Cafe, that's where Mary Phelan's variety store was.
Okay, that's what you told me last week.
Yeah.
Well, so was Andrews in the corner then too? Because when I was a kid, Andrews was in the building next to it, and
Yeah. Okay. Then,
your sister-in-law and Wayne had their craft store here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But because Larry Roast asked me that this morning at breakfast, we were talking a little bit. We always talk Marshfield. He said, "Was Andrews on the corner?" And I said, "Well, it might have been, but when I was a boy, it was the next one."
It was next door. And then after they both moved to Mary's up there, then Johnny got a hold of it and made that his dining room.
So he had both of them.
And
Okay.
there was a Western Auto Show in there.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And here is where this Jarrett building is.
Yeah,
That was a park.
that was a park. Yeah,
Yeah.
Marshfield Mail was here,
Yeah.
and hardware store was here, right?
Yeah.
Before Tout bought it, Greer's, it was Daryl
It
Drumright.
started out with J.A. McKeel.
McKeel, yeah. Okay,
And
that's
then-
Daryl's dad or kin to
No.
him? Not really.
Great uncle maybe.
Okay.
Or some.
The phone company was right there,
Yeah.
and then that became Mary's.
J.A. McKeel married my great grandpa's sister,
Okay,
and she died when she was 28 years old.
okay.
Then the sanitary barbershop was over here.
Oh, it was over here?
Then they moved to here,
Okay.
in here, and there's several chairs down through there.
Was that barbershop operating when the one under the Rathbun building was too?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, then the post office was there.
Yeah, and that right there.
Oh yeah, here.
That's my building.
Yeah. And when we moved in, it was terrible.
Yeah, it had an old front on it.
And the wooden floors.
Yeah.
And they were sagging, and had a big old, this little door here and a little door in the back,
Yeah.
and a big skylight over the middle,
Yeah.
and hot in July and August. And then when the rain, that skylight leaks so bad.
Yeah.
One morning we came in and we were standing in water,
Yeah.
and I went down to the hardware store and borrowed the brace and bit, and I drilled holes in the floor to let the water out.
But that was they just pretty well gutted that building when they rebuilt it after you all moved out.
Yeah, yeah.
Poured the concrete floor, put the new front on it, new roof.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're I'll tell you what we got to do. It's 1:23, so we're just not quite an hour and a half. I want to go down I want to make a loop down to the spur if you don't care.
Okay.
And if we end up at 2 hours, I'm okay with that if you are.
All the drunks would go in behind those old billboards.
Yeah.
Us kids, we congregated here because we had, with BB guns, we had all kinds of targets.
With liquor bottles.
Yeah.
Probably had to be careful not to step on any human excrement though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Big old trees in the courtyard, many years, I know. It's really kind of amazing if you really get to looking at the buildings. There's still a lot of buildings around this square that are 60 to 80 years old. I mean,
Oh, loose. Yeah.
I mean, most of them
Well, they,
all are.
that was there before us, and I'm 95.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, these two would be, well, they're 60 years old.
There was a little building in there or something.
Yeah.
And there used to be before they added on,
Uh-huh.
there was a home sitting right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
on the church?
Yeah. And down here, Lester Garsh's house was there. And this is where the Mom's is.
Right.
That's where we did our Boy Scout stuff in that lot right there.
I see.
Yeah.
His house was where the brick building is.
Yes.
I remember it. That was a nice home, actually. House over here.
Yeah. Okay, there's a big old barn here. And I was telling you about the boat
Yeah.
that those guys built. There was a big old barn
Yeah.
sitting back in there a ways.
Behind it.
There was that little house here. A Klaus
Uh-huh.
lived here, and that old boat was still in the barn, and I got to see the boat.
Yeah, you
John
told
took
me
me
that.
over there.
Uh-huh.
And there was a house here, Floyd Atkinson.
Okay.
I didn't know his name was Floyd. It was Gobble. And he delivered groceries for Tyndall's grocery store.
Okay.
Mom,
So
we lived down on Washington Street, and Mom would call Tyndall's, and Gobble would come in the back door, bring him in, collect his money, and leave.
yeah. So this barn that was here, did it kind of go with the
Sure.
with the Foster place?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I'd always heard about a big barn, and of course, the Abbott house was the old Abbott house, and then Bob's house, but we took those down. But
And there was 2 or 3 houses down through here.
Yeah. But the library, built turn of the century roughly, Carnegie Library, of course.
I think it's 1911.
1911, yeah. Because there's pictures of that lot being vacant. Didn't they have a carnival? They'd set the carnival up there, I think.
I don't know about
Back
that.
in the way back there, or that when they used to have the balloon rides. I know I've seen a picture of a balloon tied up there.
No one had addresses. And a carrier,
I didn't know that.
A carrier had to memorize where everybody lived before he could even case the mail, let alone carry.
They would just, like if somebody sent a letter, they just say city route or rural route or whatever.
And the post office did not pay you until you was able to carry the route.
I'll be darned. Interesting. Let's talk about the Dairy Princess.
Well, Walter Tyndall that had the Tyndall Hardware, he lived in that house right there. That was his house.
That was his there. Okay.
And this is where Danza Lon Turner lived.
Okay.
He had a hardware store on Square, and he had a big stone, iron fence around it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And,
Pretty nice place.
and we lived in an old room in a big old house in here. We had rooms before Wayne was born. And then
there was a lot of that back then, wasn't there? People would just rent rooms.
Oh yeah. And but he had I got kind of acquainted with him, and even when I started school out there, I'd stop and talk to him.
Yeah.
And in the summertime, he had a big gazebo out beside it, was just growing over this place in Marshfield.
Yeah. Hang out there.
And he took me in and showed me his gun rack. He had some of the most beautiful guns I ever saw. And one of them that I remember the most was a double-barrel shotgun with some kind of a 30 caliber rifle. It was a 3-barrel.
3-barrel. So there was a laundromat in that building when I was a boy, and then of course this was the Dairy Princess here.
Yeah.
But
there was a big old rooming house there it was a big house that was divided up.
Yeah.
One day I was walking through to school here, and he was out the fence, and he stopped me, and we were talking, and he said, "Oh, you got a wart?" I said, "Yeah."
Lon Turner?
Yeah. And he said, "You want me to take that off?" I said, "Well, sure." And he got his little old pencil out, piece of paper, and he asked me a lot of questions. All I remember was what my mother's name was, and the rest of the other questions I don't remember.
Really?
And he put it back in his pocket and said, "Yeah." It wasn't long after I was walking home to school, and he says, show me your wart. I didn't have it.
It was gone.
It was gone. And I mentioned that one time at a party, and Pat Thompson, I mentioned Lon Turner, and she said, "Did he ever take warts off of you?" And I said, "You got warts? They always send him to Lon Turner."
Yeah, I had one bought. He bought it. Remember Oscar King?
Yeah.
Oscar King lived out in the country. He bought it. I had a wart on my thumb.
Yeah.
My grandpa looked at it one day. He was over at his house. I was picking on it. He said, "We need to get Oscar to buy that from you." I said, "What?" He took me out there. Oscar rubbed it a little bit. I don't remember him saying too much. And he said, "Give me a penny for it." Put it in his pocket, give me a penny. And about a week later, he's gone.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that, Logan?
No, you're getting low on battery.
Low battery?
Just letting you know, yeah.
How much have I got?
I mean, maybe 10 or 15
Okay.
minutes.
Drumwright's, Daryl Drumwright's folks live in that
Lived
house.
there.
Yeah.
Now, when you get out to about here, there wasn't much,
Yeah.
was there?
See, John Foster, John Pope's house right there. Jesse Miller's house
Yeah.
is back. And right in here, there was a tourist court. There was
Yeah.
cabins there.
Yeah,
And then there was cabins back here.
right. And we talked about that on the show. Of course, this was my grandparents' house, but they built that in '53.
Yeah.
But there was an old house right there that was the farmhouse, and he
Yeah.
sold it off.
Paris Anderson owned that.
Yep, that was my
And then Bill,
grandma's brother-in-law.
And right here there was a big, I think it was a Shell station, but it had a cafe and had cabins.
Yeah.
And then here, and that little thing was not that.
No.
That's not a house. But we lived in that other house up there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I walk over here, and for a nickel I could get a loaf of bread.
Uh-huh.
For 10 cents I could get a huge loaf of bread that was half white and half wheat.
Really?
Yeah.
So yeah, this was Mrs. What's her name's house. Like we talked about that last
Yeah.
time. And then the little cabins, there was 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then he had a little station building right there. He sold gas, her husband. And then the other Abbott, the junction station was here, their cafe.
Yeah. Now the basement on Jesse Miller's house, that the one there with the white front porch out,
Yeah.
that basement was dug with picks and shovels and wheelbarrows.
Is that right? He was a mail carrier, wasn't he?
Yeah.
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 The couple houses here, Paul Beckerdite's house and Glenn Replogle's that he bought later. That was a Tyndall house, wasn't it? Roy
Yeah.
Tyndall's.
Yeah, Roy Tyndall's.
Those were
And then
torn
Guy
down.
Hyde had a house there.
Yeah, that's kind of where the little building is because my grandma and grandpa bought that
Yeah.
and sold the Guy Hyde place to the guy that built that and he tore it down. George and Jean Barnes' place there.
Yeah, and then there was a
Woofter. Mr. Woofter.
yeah. Right
She
there.
got run over, got killed out here
Yeah.
one time, way back
Yeah.
there.
And Presley Bazzi's mother had a little cafe I call Mom's Cafe.
Was that part of the Milky Way Dairy building that was there,
it
kind of?
They were set
Yeah.
kind of together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Charlie Cofer had a station over here. He sold out to Williams. That was
Yes.
Catherine Hyde's folks.
Right.
And Marcella Baldwin's. And then,
And then Bob ended up.
yeah. And then there was Earl Rush had a nice big home.
Yeah,
right
Mrs.
in-
Rush. Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah, in there.
Milky Way Dairy, and
Yeah.
then Beck's house there.
Yeah.
Nothing back there though.
No. Harold McNeely put all those pine trees back in
yes.
there. His house was there.
Yeah, it was. And then he had the building where the carpet store is. Carl Young's grocery store there.
And there was a,
The little building.
yeah, there was a cafe right across there, right in there. Gosh, what was their name? And then there was a big tourist court right in here.
Yeah, and that's Pete and Red's was over here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now this, my dad said that This was a little service station. Of course, that building wasn't here then.
No.
And my great uncle, Gardner Thomas, ran that. Noel's
Yeah.
uncle and my dad's uncle.
Yeah.
And when Dad and Jean were on the farm, my grandpa would give him $1 and to come and get gas, and they'd get 5 gallons of gas and have enough to get them a pop and a candy bar and like a nickel left out of that $1. But
Yeah.
they'd come to Uncle Gardner's station. That's where they'd get it.
Yeah.
That would have been in the 30s, early 40s, because Gene was driving, but I'm not sure he was old enough to drive. But I don't guess people worried too much about it back then,
No,
did
it
they?
didn't make any difference. When I turned 16, I went up to the courthouse and gave them 50 cents. Esley Trantle handed me my
Uh-huh.
driver's license.
So Pete and Red's was in here somewhere,
Yeah. And
and then this was what was this? Station?
I don't think it was even here.
Maybe not, but
Well, Riggs' little cafe was in one of these.
yeah.
And Whitfield dude lived in that first house. Guy lived over here.
Right.
Yeah.
And the tourist court was over here by
Yeah.
Pete and Red's.
Yeah. Well, they were all family.
They were.
Pete and Red's
Dugan's?
in-laws owned the motel.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, Petersdorf.
Petersdorf, that's right.
Yeah.
And was there anything else that way really, other than some homes?
Not for a long ways.
Now the old red brick house they tore down, that was the last Civil War house or something. You remember that on the left out there?
Yeah, way out there.
Yeah. Well, where the Assembly of God Church is where it was at.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that as a kid. People didn't want to see them tear it down.
John Foster built a house right there.
Yeah.
And that was back before he lost his mill.
I see.
And he said, people want to know, why in the world did you move way out in the country?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's not a stud wall in that house. It's all mason.
It is. Jefferson Street's how you went to Elkland, really, wasn't it?
No, you came out here to Culver Station or Winston and turned
Yeah.
past. You turned right here.
You turned here.
Yeah.
But then when you got down here to Jefferson, you turned left there, right? Down here?
Yeah. You made it jog down.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
So,
When they first opened this up, I don't remember anything being in here.
Right.
Earl Rush's house.
Mrs. Kittrell's house was right in there,
Yeah.
an old house, right here.
Yeah. And I forget who it was before Kittrell's moved in there. Then they put in the lumber yard here.
Yeah.
But Blackwell's put in a auction
barn.
house first.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then there was a Big Boy Drive-In.
Well, Bigwig was right here, where, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That was where the shopping center is. Bill Birchfield converted it to this center. Well, we went there as a boy, the Bigwig.
Yeah, but I think before that, you
Something else?
remember the Big Boy.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. They got to stealing.
No, that was the Bigwig, because that
Oh,
was
it's the
going
Big-
on when I was a kid.
Okay.
Mhm, yeah. And then you had the casket factory here, and the highway shed,
Yeah.
but that came along later, right?
Yeah.
But here's where I'm talking about. You right here to go on out west, right here, Jefferson Street.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, because see,
Yeah.
I mean, it come right through there.
Yeah.
It went on
There we
right
go.
there.
That's
yes.
right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you went.
I think Dr. Tommy's office was in here, and Stanley's in
See,
here.
The,
Well, Stanley's was there.
Spur Drive was supposed to come right out Jackson Street and go right straight over here,
Yeah.
but it was missing some influential people.
Right.
So they went to Jeff City, went over the highway department's head, and that's the reason it took so long. Of course, Barney Unsel was head of the,
Uh-huh.
and he said as long as he lived, there'd never be another overpass in Marshfield.
That's what I've always heard.
Yeah.
Well, there was, but it was after he was gone. Yeah, so no overpass. The
Yeah.
Spur Cafe set right
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and then
The Spur Cafe was started by Lauren Walton,
okay.
and he was from Globe, Arizona. His
Uh-huh.
wife was Mexican, and boy, could she make tacos.
Oh yeah. Huh.
enchiladas.
Yeah.
And that was Lauren Fair's uncle.
Oh, okay.
That's who he was. Lauren Fair was named
After.
Yeah.
And then, did Barnes's buy it from them then?
Yes.
George Barnes's?
Yeah, they went back to Globe. And
So, I guess this road right here crossed the highway. The highway wasn't here. So this road this Pleasant Prairie or whatever, it went across, didn't it, somehow? Or?
no, it was down. You go down to the We Dug In and go out and get on the Clover, and you take the first road.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. It was over there.
And
Okay.
then we crossed down at the kind of in the valley down
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's where you cross.
We're going to have to do another one of these and get on out here, and we can talk more. But we're going to, because there's a lot more stuff we can talk about. But of course, then later on the Fair Oaks Motel down here and all that. But
I don't know who built that, but I know Johnny Phipps run it for a long time.
he ran it a long time.
Yeah.
And there was a service station nearby. I guess he may have ran that too.
You know, I'm not so sure that Johnny Phipps' dad didn't build it.
I'm wondering if he did.
Aubrey.
Uh-huh.
Because Johnny Phipps' wife, she named Fair Oaks because she took that name out of a book she liked.
Oh, really?
Some place in a book she was reading. That's where Fair Oaks come from. At least that's what she told me.
Sure. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and hopefully future generations will learn a little bit that they wouldn't have ever known. That's important.
You know, several years ago, right before Bill West passed away, he came to call me and said, I need to come see you. So he came, and I couldn't figure out why. And he came over and he handed me a big roll of movie film.
Oh, really?
And my dad and a bunch of the guys went pheasant hunting all the time.
Yeah.
And Bill took a lot of pictures of those pheasant hunts.
Yeah.
And he said, I took the pictures, I'm not in it, but your dad's in it, and I think you ought to have this.
Wow.
And I just laid it up. It wasn't, you know,
Yeah.
it was going to cost over $100.
Yeah.
And to get it, and they say you should, the film was old enough you would only do it one time and it would destroy the film.
Right.
So I just kind of laid it up. We got to doing all this with you here, and Champ Heron, and everything. I got to think, well, that's history.
Yeah.
So last week I took it in. I'm having it digitized.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
And,
that's great.
I'm having it put on a CD, and I'm also having a thumb drive.
There you go. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we need to, any of that's out there from anybody. I might pay to get copies of some of that stuff. That'd be great. We can get it all compiled someday.
I think we'll privately look at it before I donate it to anybody.
Well, I mean,
and there's one thing I know won't be there.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Dad always bought his shells by the case.
Yeah.
He was getting ready to go to South Dakota. He had a case of shells sit out. And Wayne and Mom and I, you know, used to, they crimped over and had a cardboard in the 12 gauge shells, but then they changed it. They just crimped it all in and waxed it. Wayne, Mom, and I sat there and we took 3 shells and we took it all out and took the shot out of them and filled them full of flour. And,
is that on film?
I hope it is, but I know it won't be.
We're going to make one final loop back. We're going to make one loop of Old 66.
Okay.
And because that's important to Marshfield. knowing that this was the highway.
We'd walk across it. This is old 66.
Uh-huh.
We'd walk from there over here, and big time hunters. We'd
Yeah.
go over there and play around.
That was all just forest, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know this was the edge of town. I know because there was some fight over the city limit line or something I was reading about one time. And of course, did you ever spend any time back here in the Hidden Waters
Yeah.
area? Because
Yeah.
there was springs back in there,
And Jake Burchill had a barn back there.
yeah.
And me and John Miller and Sonny Lynn and
Uh-huh.
who all we was playing, and we got out there, and a horse got after us.
Uh-huh.
At least I don't know, at least we thought it was after us.
Right.
And so we run in that barn, and every time we drove out, that old horse come at us. I think he's just wanting to play, but we scared death of him.
Mm-hmm.
When we found a bunch of corn, we went on one side of raised the window and poured the bunch of corn out on the grass, and that horse come to it. We went out the other side and escaped.
All right, so let's talk for a minute about the We Dug In. The old original We Dug In was right here.
Yeah.
And what do you remember the earliest that the We Dug In was?
It was just there, always there.
But I mean, what was it? What kind of a business?
Well, it was just a
Little store?
yeah.
Um,
Mainly a gas station.
Yeah.
Of course, I-44 was
Right. Or
an old 66,
right.
Right through here.
But they sold gas and just cigarettes and
And then
pop.
I think they added liquor later.
Right, they did, I think. Yeah, too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
But
Clinton Taylor's folks run it.
they did.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I was talking, Sue Eichert said that they, at some point after it quit being a store, she said her dad, was it Frank Price? For some price, had a barbershop in there.
Well, I don't think he was the first one.
No, but yeah.
What? He had the first place in Marshfield that you could make an appointment
I see.
and didn't have to wait in line like you did
I see.
uptown.
I see.
And I came to him all the time.
Down here?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then I think what happened, the Robs had the liquor store out there where they built the overpass.
Yeah.
And they sold that for the overpass. And they came down here and bought the We Dug In.
Yeah.
And they had liquor there, and then they built the new building, which
Right.
is now that apartment building. I
Yeah.
think that's how it went.
Yeah.
But
Lee Rob.
Lee Rob. Uh-huh.
Lee and Wanda.
Uh-huh.
Where are they putting the old station at? They're bringing
It's going to sit right there on the roadbed, right there.
right there?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah.
See that flat spot?
Yeah.
So there'll be a turnoff right there, and then there'll be parking there. You can go up there and see, look at it. And there'll be nostalgia stuff and signage, but that building was going to go away if we didn't save it. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, and they'll restore it.
I've had a couple calls
Yeah.
wanting what I knew about it. No,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that much.
Yeah. A lot of people don't really remember it now. I mean, they remember seeing it, but not when it was active.
Just drove by. It
Just
wasn't-
drove by it. Yeah.
I went
See?
to buy gasoline when I had a key to Dad's gas pump. at the
There you
store.
go. There you go. Yeah, the road went through, so it's going to sit on the old road bed there.
Yeah.
And the city already owns that, and they already have to maintain it, so it'll be a good spot
Yeah.
to protect it. Of course, a lot of people don't know that Marshfield's treatment plant was right here
Yes.
before they built the one out on by the highway.
Yeah.
All the sewage came right there and was processed. There used to be old concrete vats. Yeah, there's still some back there.
Herb Evans built that
Yeah.
house.
This was Marshfield's first radio station.
Yeah.
That house was moved from out there by where we talked about where Jefferson crossed, right there.
Brookses lived back there.
Mm-hmm.
Bill
John William
Bill
Meade.
Brooks.
Yeah.
Played a few games of poker in there.
I bet. So this would be, we turn here and we'll go back down on the city route of Route 66 right here. People coming from the east would come down, turn here, and go down to the square.
I can't think who lived there originally.
Oh yeah, was it Quentin Marlin? He lived over here somewhere.
Joe Marshfield built that house,
Oh, he did.
and the Ragsdale lived here.
Yeah. Henry Phelan.
Yeah, Henry Field here. Aubrey Phipps built this one,
Yeah.
and one of these was Lutheran Church Parsonage,
Okay.
and they've changed the roof now, mismounted.
Yeah.
Where Doc Blinn built that house,
Uh-huh.
and Frank Day lived here.
Okay. Sunny Lynn.
Okay, look at that house.
Yeah. Looks like his mother's house.
It looks just like it's on the same building permit as Jack Williams and Ruth Lynn's house.
Uh-huh. That's right, exactly right. Same
Yeah.
plan, yeah.
Yeah.
Which are over by on Jackson Street, by the way.
It was my brother built this house.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Joe Bateman lived here, works for the city.
Okay.
My Uncle Lewis used to live right there.
Okay.
There's
Phelan's. Rosie's.
Walter Wilson lived there.
Okay.
P.O. Phelan lived here. And Mary Phelan run the variety store. She
Right.
lived here.
Rosie still owns both of those.
Yeah.
We're about back where we started.
And here, Ballard Waters' sister lived there. I can't think of her name.
Floyd.
No. Lee. Her last name was Lee.
Floyd lived in the house here next
Yeah.
to the clinic.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried to buy that to extend that Lutheran church on, and we couldn't get it. And then we got an architect. He said, "You can't. The way this thing's built, you can't extend on it."
Yeah.
So we decided to sell it and build the other one.
Yeah. Well, I think we've made a pretty good afternoon. We've just about knocked off 2 hours.
Well, we have.
The only thing back on that down that way was wasn't it the Peevely Dairy down there on the corner?
Yeah. Pittman store.
Pittman's store and Terry's store, or whoever had the other one.
There was a family lived right in here, had a teenage boy, one of these houses. He got into it uptown with one of the city officers.
Yeah.
They chased him down. He run real quick, put his car in the garage and walked back out the street. And the city officer stopped him and said, "Did you see a car go fast?" He said, "Boy, I did. He was really flying, but I got his license number." And the city officer, "Okay, I'll on it." So he went around behind the car to go to the front to tell him, while the city officers are getting his notepad out. He got the officer's own car number
Oh my goodness.
and give it to him. That's back. They didn't have radios to go get your license.
Yeah.
It was for an emergency. You could call.
Uh-huh.
Jeff said he'd get it, but otherwise you had to just write a letter
To get it.
to get it. And so when it came back, see, it was the city officer's number, and I think there was a lot of snickering going on in the courthouse.
That boy was pretty smart, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Logan, it's time to sign off, I guess. It's been almost 2 hours. Tom, thank you so much.
Well, I've enjoyed every minute of
Well,
it.
I have too. We'll do it again
Okay.
because we've still got some more territory. We might get out in the country a little bit
Yeah.
and see some things, or between here and Northview or whatever. But this has really been great. I really appreciate it, and what we're going to do is we're going to get this on the air here as soon as Logan gets inside. He'll get it on, so it looks like it's going to be around 2 o'clock to air, so people will be able to tune in then. So
Okay.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Thank you, Logan.
We'll see y'all later. Thanks.